Hello, welcome to Sounding Board, a presentation of Soroptimist International of Novato, whose mission it is to improve the lives of girls and women globally and locally. Sounding Board is produced, crewed, directed, moderated, all by members of Soroptimist International of Novato. I'm Freda Kaplan, and it's my pleasure to have as my guest Ruth Weiss. Hello, Ruth.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to Sounding Board.
Thank you. Thank you, Freda.
I would like to ask you, this is your new book we have here, and on the book, your name is written all in lowercase, all in small letters. And I've noticed whenever you sign anything, you write it in lowercase. And could you tell us about that?
Well, some people thought it was E. Cummings.
Yeah.
It wasn't. My first language was German, and all nouns are capitalized. All, chair, table, you name it. And it was my personal rebellion against the German language, which, of course, I still speak and love anyway, but it was just my own personal statement of this. So I spell my name in lowercase. When I write, I do I in lowercase. And, yeah.
So it's a rebellious,
subtle
and rebellious.
Right.
Speaking of the book is named Can't Stop the Beat, and I would like to read the dedication from it. It says, "This book is dedicated to all the travelers who trust the bend in the road." What does that mean?
We trust the bend in the road. Well, when something appears that looks like a negative turn, just go with it and see what happens, because I have found usually that it actually kind of kicks you upstairs, that something better is in your chart, in your being. I mean, it's something. I mean, people lose a job, and then they find out they get something much better. They get kicked out of a place to live. They find it. I mean, I've found this again and again in my own life, and I really believe you have to trust it, that there's a reason for this, and that it's something that you need to learn, and that's the idea, yeah.
What are some examples of this in your life, as you say?
Well, let's see. I was living in San Francisco from, again and again, from 69 to 81 in one place I just loved. And overnight, the landlady, we'd been living there for years, tells us that we have 1 month to move because her son wanted the place, which was probably just an excuse. They couldn't raise the rent. There was rent control. I know that's what it was. So here we are. We don't know where we're going to go. And I decided on wanting to go to Inverness in California, Northern California. Inverness, Point Reyes Station, because there happens to be a beach that I love swimming in. That was my big reason. And everybody said, well, you can't possibly find anything there. It's only rich people or summer cabins. Well, against all the odds, we're driving down the road, and I see a sign saying, garage sale. And I said, let's stop here. And my partner said, stop here. We have more things than we need. What are you talking about? I said, if someone has a sign out, garage sale, they're either moving or they've been there so long they need to get rid of things. As it turned out, it was the second, and we ended up moving into that place. And, from June of 81 to, when was it? January of 81. We had everything fixed up, finally ready to live, and the flood of West Marin of 82 hit us. We almost lost our lives. It was a mess. But then I got a phone call from Mendocino from one of my friends. I used to work with her at the post office. And she said there's a place down the road for rent. And the first thing I said, does it have indoor plumbing? He said, oh, yes. And then we went to see the landlord. And I said, do you need some, references? He said, well, if you've lived in one place for 12 or 13 years, I think that's fine. The rent was very low. And I asked, now, why is your rent so low? I said, I can afford this, but if you go up, I can't. I don't want to move in unless. They said, well, my husband and I are both accountants, and we have no children, and if we raised our rent, we wouldn't get any more money anyway. So, and then I ended up buying it after I inherited my parents' place. But this shows you, I was absolutely devastated when I lost that place in San Francisco. And it turned out it's just that I'm living in a wonderful place at all levels. I actually lived in Mendocino in 1963 for a year. And I always said someday I'll go back, but I had no idea this was going to happen. And, well, if you want to hear some stories from the Holocaust, I can share that with you.
Origins.
I was born in Berlin, and in 1933 we moved to Vienna because my father lost his job, and we're in Vienna with my grandmother who had a rooming house. And comes Crystal Night. I don't know if you know what that was. I think it was October of 1938. It was called the Greenspahn Affair. It seems a Jewish man killed a high-ranking Nazi officer in Paris, and in retaliation, they broke windows. That's why it was called Crystal Night. And they picked up adult males at that time, not yet children. So my father was one of the people picked up on that particular time. But by a miracle, he was released 2 weeks later. Came home, he said, pack immediately, we're going to try and get into Switzerland. Well, it's a whole long story. We tried across the Rhine, we tried the mountains, it was pouring rain, it was just a terrible experience. And all our money was gone with guides who were going to help us. And here we are in Innsbruck with no money, and it's obvious we're going to get picked up any minute in an empty railroad station. And a woman walks by, asks her to follow us, asked where we were going to, and in the middle of the night I looked out because I heard a man's voice, and obviously her husband. And anyway, next morning she gives us tickets to go back to Vienna, and I hear these boots, and there's this same man in a full Nazi uniform who actually got us the tickets.
So this was her husband at her house.
Yeah, he got us the tickets. Now, this is number one miracle. The other one, the moment we got back to Vienna, our visa was waiting for us. If we hadn't gotten back and gotten into Switzerland, we would have been in an internment camp. It wasn't as bad as concentration, but it was still all winter. This is my whole life's been like
so
this.
So Switzerland, you were glad you didn't get there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
But I have many such stories. And we finally got the train. We got our visa to go to Holland to catch our ship. Well, it happened to be the last train that they allowed across the border on the 31st of December, 1938. If we'd been a day later, we couldn't have crossed. So that's what I meant about the bend in the road. You never know what the reason. And yeah.
Those are good examples.
I have many other stories, but I
Wow.
thought this would kind of catch you up. So we went back, we got the ship, we went to New York, and then I was in a children's home, and I actually we'll read some of this from the book. And then we moved to Iowa and lived with Quakers, and then I graduated grammar school, and I was in 7th grade, and for 8th grade, my parents put me into a Catholic boarding school. I'm Jewish, right? I was the only Jewish girl there, but they took me in free, and I guess my parents were both working, and a Catholic boarding school. They said the education was better. Don't ask me why. But it turned out that my teacher of, the class, her name was Sister Eulogia. And she was young, and we really connected. She was a painter. She used to use me for her paintings of Mary, because I looked like I just got off the boat, which I did. All the other girls had their hair permanent. I had long braids, As she said, Mary was Jewish. But the point is that she actually really and fully encouraged my writing. At the time, I wrote a novel. I had several books of poems I put together myself. And there was a strange comment she made, being a nun. She said, "You have a good feel for language, and I like the way you use words and that." But strangely, she said, "You always talk about nature. You talk about the sky, this, you never mention people." And she hit on a nerve of how I felt alienated from people. And a nun tells me this, and it was true. I listened to her and started thinking about looking at people, feeling people. I wrote my first poem when I was 5, and that was in Berlin, and it's in German. And I could tell it to you in German, translate it. Do you want? Okay.
Translated, sure.
Okay. Es war einmal ein Bär, der hatte braune Augen, spazierte hin und her und wollte zu gar nichts taugen. Means there was once upon a time a bear, and he had brown eyes. He walked back and forth and didn't want to be of any use. So, first beatnik, right?
A beatnik beer.
I've been writing all my life. That's been, you see, I have no siblings. All my relatives died in concentration camps. My parents, of course, are gone. I'm 83 by now. So my children is my work. So.
Well, you certainly are prolific. You've got a lot of children, a lot of work out there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, more has been happening in the last 5 years with my work than all those other years. I mean, that's why I better stay around. I've got a lot of work left to do.
That's right. Well,
okay.
Keep it up, yeah. I noticed that in a couple places in your writing, you talk about how timing is everything, which I think fits with your dedication in the front of your book, but also you often say that coincidence of timing is what made everything possible, the escapes from the Nazis. And
right.
Yeah. Do you have any modern examples of timing?
Well, how about today? It was just perfect. We were leaving an hour and a half later than I expected to. And there was a friend of ours we wanted to see in Cloverdale for a minute, but we didn't know if she would be there. And as we pull up at the house, she's just walking out the door. So we were able to see each other. I mean, we hadn't planned this, and we really needed to see her. And then we get to your house where we're staying overnight, and it was a few minutes before Russell had to leave. Of course, his brother could have taken care, but that he was there just in time. We're leaving there, and so on and so forth.
Timing is everything.
Yes. You wanted some recent example. I gave you today.
Couldn't be more recent.
All right.
Yeah. Would you like to read from your new book, Can't Stop the Beat?
I would love to. Last time we did this, I read one of the poems, and this time I would like to read some of I Always Thought You Black. 1939, home in Harlem, a children's home in Harlem, a lone, white, Jewish children's home in Harlem. So who's new in the neighborhood? So who knew in the neighborhood? She knew in the neighborhood. Why was it now in Harlem? Maybe that Bronx children's home where no one was to be after age 9. They'd found out I was going on 11, not 8 like Papa and Mutti said. Once I know English, out comes that I know algebra, and then, oops, it was fast from class 2 to 4 to 5. In the Bronx, all the streets so even and clean and no green, no one in the street, the houses straight up and down. Oh, Vienna, my hand's still on your grill work, your balustrades. Harlem streets are narrow, houses lean one to the other, sideways and frontways, steps up and down, and other streets, oh so wide, smiling, and everybody's out there at one time or another, or from the window, and they're skipping and jumping and clapping and stopping and sitting and talking, and always the dance. School. The only white girl in the class, and I don't speak yet too much English, and this one and that one takes me home to show mama and sister and brother. Don't you have a mama? Yes, I have a mama and a papa too, but where are they? I see them on Sunday. And where are your sisters? And where are your brothers? I don't have a sister. I don't have a brother. You do now. Yes, I do. But I miss Susie. I miss Susie. Susie Rosner, my close, close friend for 5 years in Vienna. And sometimes see her brown eyes, see her dark hair and white skin reflected in the black. (1955) Hill Haven. Several buildings and many rooms between 19th Street and Cumberland. Millie is the landlady, married to Johnny Elgin, a piano player I knew in New Orleans in 1950. Hill Haven becomes haven for jazz. Jamming in the boiler room, Johnny Elgin on piano, Sonny Nelson or Will Carlson on drums, actor John Atkins just listening in, all living at Hill Haven. Maybe Jack Minger or Dickie Mills drop in with trumpet, or Max Hartstein on bass, and Brew Moore on tenor. White skin, black and blue sounds. I live at the Wentley on Polk and Sutter. Other voices, other rooms, but often cross San Francisco to join in the jam. Words into smoke, notes into fire. 1956, Will and Sonny and Jack opened the Cellar, a jazz joint on Green Street in North Beach. Wednesday, first night of poetry and jazz at the Cellar. My first time in public with poetry and jazz. Other nights, I carry beer and wine to the tables, but this is Wednesday. An hour or so before the show, I'm at the bar, my glass shaking in my hand. John Atkins comes in, ready to work the door. His arm is around my shoulder. Don't ever put yourself down. Don't ever allow anyone to put you down, he says in his grand Shakespearean voice. Another Wednesday, I walk in ready to gig. Someone is on piano. Not the soft blue of Bill Wejan. It's blue all right, electric blue, sparks into blue flames. Who are you, I whisper. Boo Pleasant, she laughs, never missing a note. I jump in and off we go. The drum and the bass thrum behind us, and little Malcolm on trombone, and another horn. What a set, what a night. Boo Pleasant was on the scene for a short time only, lean and tall and black, hovering over the keys that talked before she touched them. How she unlocked those sounds.
Thank you, Ruth, for joining us, and for Hal Davis on percussion. Thanks to the Soroptimist crew, and to Rick Tucker and Leon Johnson of NPAT, that's Novato Public Access Television. They help us greatly with our production of Sounding Board, and we always appreciate it. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.